Okay, finally we are ready to download our weather information and display it in our weather view that we have already created. So inside our weather view controller, we want to create some functions that will download using our model, will download our weather. So let's put a mark here, and I'm going to call this download weather. And we are going to have three functions, one for current weather, one for hourly weather, and one for weekly weather. So I will say private func download, let's call this get current weather. And then we have another function, again, private func get weekly weather. And finally, we need one more, private func get hourly weather. All right, so we have these three functions. Each one is gonna get its own weather information. So now we can actually get rid of the code here because we no longer need this. So I'm going to delete this, and let's get to our get weather function. But for each of these functions, we want to give it a parameter. So our parameters, there will be two parameters. The first parameter is going to be a weather view. So this view we have created here. So we are going to give the function the weather view, so it knows to which function, to which view the weather information should give, because for every location we are going to have specific weather, and this weather is going to be displayed by our weather view. So whenever we are downloading weather for a specific location, we want to pass the weather view so that we can populate the weather view and display it back. So each of these three functions will have two parameters, the weather view and the location of the weather. So we know which location to download. Currently we are working only with a hard-coded location, which is in my case my current city. So I'm going to have only one parameter here, weather view, and this is going to be type of weather view. And the same thing I'm going to do for other two functions. And then once we are done with our tests, we will add location so we can work dynamically and not hard-coded location. So we are going to access our weather view here, and I'm going to get the current weather property of my weather view, which is this one. So we want to basically set these four properties in order for our weather view to be able to display the information correctly. So this function will get the weather from our API, and we'll set these four parameters here, and then we can refresh our weather view. So we say weather view.current weather is equals, and we're going to instantiate a current weather object, which is from our model. And then using this, I'm going to get the current weather. So I say weather view.current weather dot get current weather, and just hit enter. It's going to be success, my variable name. And once we get our weather, we are going to say weather view dot refresh data. So this will refresh our weather view. And since we are here, I want to jump to this refresh data. And whenever we refresh our data, we are only doing with our setup current weather. But we need some other functions to display the rest of the information, because the current weather, remember, it's the top area of our user interface only. So let's finish these three functions, and then we will jump back to our weather view first. Right, then we have our get weekly weather forecast, get weekly weather, and we have our weather view. But here first we need to access our model, which is weekly weather forecast. So we say weekly weather forecast dot download weekly weather. I can hit enter, and this will return an array of weekly weather forecast objects. And this is what we need for our weather. So I'm going to call this weather forecasts. And here now we can take our weather view as soon as we have received the weekly weather forecast information. And I can set the property of weekly weather forecast data to be equals to my weather forecast that I am receiving from my model. And then I can call my weather view. Basically, we need to refresh data so it displays our new information. And for our get hourly weather, we are going to access our hourly forecast. Then we are going to download hourly weather. I hit enter on this. I'm going to call this again weather forecast. So let me copy this, paste it here, and again we need to set our weather view dot daily weather forecast data is equals to weather forecast, and we need to refresh. So say weather view dot refresh data. So we have these three functions that will download the current weather, a weekly weather, and hourly weather, and we'll add these objects to our weather view, and each one, once it's done, because this downloading is happening in a background thread, we need to call this refresh data function so that our weather view will take all the new information provided to it and will refresh itself so we can see our information on our user interface.